Hey kids, Mr. and Fly here. Now, there are times in your life when you might need to store your bikes for a while without riding them, and I'm recording this video in April 2020 and we're in the midst of the global pandemic. The coronavirus has struck, so I've decided I'm not going to be riding my bikes until further notice. So if you want my top 5 tips on how to lay your bikes up when you're not riding them, stick around and stay tuned. So here in the UK, we've been told that we shouldn't make any unnecessary trips away from our home unless you're going to a supermarket or a pharmacy. And if I do that, I'm lucky enough to have access to a car as well. So I'll be driving on any essential trips. So on that basis, I've decided I'm going to lay my bikes up for what could be a prolonged period of time, 3 to 6 months potentially. So I'm fortunate enough to have 6 bikes of my own that are here in the garage. I've also got this Imposter, this Triumph Tiger 900, a splendid bike that Triumph UK have lent me. And they are unable to come and pick it up. So they asked me to keep this safe as well during the period. So what am I going to do to keep the bikes in tip-top order until I can next ride them? Well, without further ado, here are my top tips. Okay, so my first tip then is, and these are in no particular order by the way, they're all equally as important as far as I'm concerned. My first tip is to consider sawing your bike. Now, if you're not in the UK, you may not have come across what sawing means. S-O-R-N stands for Statutory Off-Road Notice, and basically you inform the authorities, in this case the DVLA, that your motorbike, or car for that matter, is going to be off the road for a period of time, and therefore you don't want to pay your vehicle excise duty, or what we used to call road tax. So every month at the moment I pay road tax on these bikes. It varies, but it's about, it's about 14 quid per bike. So across 6 bikes, it's a significant amount of cash going out of the account every month. So I've decided 5 of the bikes I'm going to sawn. You can do this online. Just get onto the DVLA website and it's very straightforward. You put in your reference number that will be on your logbook and you can state that your bike's going to be off-road until further notice. And that way you don't have to pay that road tax. So I'm keeping one bike, probably the GS roadworthy, so I won't be sawing that one in case I need to make some sort of an emergency ride on it, or I need to carry some stuff. It's just me, whatever. But the rest I'm going to sawn. So it's worth considering. Whilst you're thinking about how you can save money if your bikes are going to be locked up, what I would say is don't stop your insurance. Some people I know, because I've been talking to my friends, my sponsors at Bennett's, they're saying that people are cancelling their bike insurance, and they've just said, could I put the word out? Because of course, if you keep your bike in your garage and it gets stolen from your garage, if you're uninsured, you've got no insurance, you won't get any sort of money back. So do keep your insurance going, even if you are going to sawn your bikes. Okay then, second tip, simple one. What I am doing with my bikes being stuck in the garage is from time to time, I'm just moving them around. So just take the bike off the side stand, move it around if you can, make sure the wheels just circulate, because basically if you leave it sat for, let's say, 4 months on the same spot on your tyres, you could get flat spots appear on the tyres. It's just not good for them. So make sure they get rotated and the weight's on a different part of the tyre if you can. Alternatively, lift the bike off the deck. If you've got a paddock stand or something like an ABBA stand and you can get the wheels off the deck, then do that. That way you're just not putting undue stress on a single part of the tyre. So that's another little tip. Okay, next tip while we're talking about wheels and tyres is don't forget to check and pump up your tyres to the correct pressure. Now, a lot of people say, tyres on bikes just stick, 36 in the front, 42 in the back. All good. Now, in some cases, that is certainly what the manufacturers recommend, but my bikes vary. It depends obviously on the weight of the bike and the type of the bike and so on. So do check in your manual what the correct pressures are. Because I'm lucky enough to have multiple bikes and I can't remember what the pressures should be, I have a little list up on the wall. In fact, here we go. I can show you. They're the tyre pressures just listed there, because I do like to keep, even when the bikes are running, I like to check the tyres on a regular basis and make sure they're at the optimum pressure. Of course, if they're too low, it means the bike's going to handle horribly. If they're pumped up too much, you could wear the centre bit of the tyre out too soon. And there are all sorts of good reasons as to why you should keep your tyres pumped up the right amount. So yeah, check your tyres, get them pumped up, and that way they'll be in good nick for when you come to ride the bikes again. Oh, and another tip that I completely forgot to mention when I was recording this yesterday is once in a while, what I do every couple of weeks is I'll switch my bikes on and give the engine a good warm up. Open the garage doors obviously to let a good airflow through. You don't want to asphyxiate yourself while you're doing this. Start the bikes, run them for a good 10 to 15 minutes until the engine cases are properly warm, and that way you just make sure you get oil and fluids flowing all through the tubing within the engine, etc. And it just keeps, for me, I'm thinking that keeping the pistons and that oiled is a good idea. I don't do it because it's going to charge the battery. We'll come to that in a minute, but I do it mostly to get oil circulating around the engine. So just another tip whilst we're on this whole what to do while your bike's laid up. All right, back to the video. Okay, next up, linkages and cables. Always a good idea to keep any cables, moving parts, bearings, etc. on your bike oiled if you can. So this isn't a great example. I'm stood here by my GS, which has a hydraulic brake and clutch, but a little drop of oil if you've got brake and clutch controls that actually have cables. Well, you probably won't have a brake one that does, but the clutch one certainly might do. And what I like to do on the GS as well is just get a little bit of WD-40 and squirt around this area on the controls, because particularly on bikes that have these what I call PCB type controls, the GS ones get a little bit sticky. If you put something like WD-40 in and around there, it just keeps them free for next time you ride them. You don't find you're pressing a button and it stays down. So anything that moves, you know, the joints on the brake pedal, the gear linkage, etc., give it a little oil, and again, that'll just keep it in tip-top condition for when you next ride the bike. Okay, so tip number 5 then, and it might be a bit of an obvious one, but tip number 5 is to keep your batteries nice and charged up. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean keeping it connected to an old-style trickle charger. I've had a number of comments on a previous video that I made about charging your batteries. I'll put a link up in the corner if you want more detail on this, but the old style trickle chargers weren't necessarily a good idea to keep connected to the bike all the time. But if you've got one of these newer intelligent type chargers like I use the Optimate ones, then they are in fact designed to be connected all the time. I've only got 3 of those, and I'm, as I say, lucky enough to have 6 bikes, so I swap them around amongst the bikes every few days to make sure that the batteries stay charged. But if you've got one of those intelligent ones, then it's absolutely safe to leave those connected, and that way when you come to start your bike next time, it ain't going to let you down. So yeah, a bit of an obvious one maybe, but keep your batteries charged up. Okay, so there we go. Hardly rocket science, is it? And I'm not saying that this is an exhaustive list, or indeed that I'm an expert in it in any way. This is just what I do, and you may have some other ideas. If you've got some other things that you do to lay your bikes up that may be of interest to other people, do stick a note in the comments below. It'd be really interesting to hear those as well. Alrighty, that's pretty much it for this time. If this is the first time you've been to my channel, thanks very much for watching. I don't just do stuff here in the garage on the Missenden Flyer, but I do trips and tours at home and abroad. I do bits and pieces about looking after your bike. I do monthly bike news, the odd live stream, and all sorts of stuff that I try and cover a wide range of subjects and topics here on the channel. It'd be great to have you hit that subscribe button below, and that way I can see you next time. All right, that's it for now. I hope that was of some interest. As I say, do keep safe, keep yourself indoors, follow the advice, you know, help the NHS, save lives, all that, you know the drill. And that way, when we get through this whole period, we'll be able to get back out on those bikes again and enjoy, hopefully, what's left of summer at that time. All right, that's it for now. Look forward to speaking to you again soon. Until then, this has been the Missenden Flyer. Cheerio.